Within the absolute zero vacuum of the silence booth's digital lattice, a singular thermal anomaly bloomed. A fragile 22 degrees Celsius. That heat radiated from a flat, fibrous rectangular object sitting on Alara Vane's desk. The quad-heart spire processed trillions of optical data streams per microsecond, yet this primitive physical artifact went entirely unrecognized by the sensors. The human tapped the fibrous edges against the composite desk. Tap, tap, perfect alignment. She repeated this every 14 standard minutes. Lorien observed from the upper arc of his tear, his ocular ridges narrowing. He categorized the repetitive micromovement as a neurological coping mechanism for the spire's crushing atmospheric pressure. Entered Kalen Voss through the pressurized airlock, carrying 2 ceramic cylinders emitting a noxious, roasted odor. He set one beside Alara's fibrous rectangles. Dark, boiling liquid sloshed within. Lorien logged the event with clinical detachment. To consume liquid heat voluntarily inside a temperature-regulated habitat indicated a primitive self-punishment ritual, a desperate biological attempt to maintain wakefulness. I'll be honest with you. What I witnessed in that glass cage rewrote every law I believed about who truly rules this quadrant. The scratch of graphite on fiber. A sound unheard in the quad-heart spire for 7 millennia. Archon Thul had already initiated the unanimous vote to seize the crystalline mining territories from the Oculons. Sol Prime's eviction would logically follow. Yet, Alara did not pack. She initiated a systemic, subroutine download of the founding edict. This pathetic resistance, Lorien found fascinating. An entire species facing geographic eradication, and their representative was attempting to memorize the very bureaucratic chains that bound them. The archive transfer required 90 standard solar cycles. The primordials built their authority on fluid, uninterrupted digital perfection. Humans operated in agonizing, analog increments. 90 days bled into 180. The silence booth became a tomb of recycled oxygen and that persistent, roasted odor. Lorien's primary breathing gill fluttered in slow intervals, his fluid posture a stark contrast to the jerky, decaying movements of the humans below. They were rotting from the inside out, consuming their toxic ritual liquids while staring blindly at scrolling primordial dialect. Kalen Voss had ceased verbal communication, communicating only by sliding more fibrous sheets across the desk. The spire's digital architecture remained unblemished by their frantic archiving. Their persistence borders on biological error. Archon Thul projected across the upper tier, syllables elongated and resonant. The humans will fracture under the administrative weight. The final clause of the founding edict, Alara retrieved on the morning of the Security Council finalization. Her eyes were rimmed in fractured purple capillaries. She did not look at the digital screens. She looked only at the towering stacks of fibrous rectangles now dominating the glass cage. A physical manifestation of a digital empire. The trap was set. Rang the chime of the High Council Assembly. Lorien gathered his projection tablets, preparing to document the formal removal of Sol Prime from the Quadrant Registry. He expected weeping. He anticipated standard human neurological collapse. He did not expect Kalen Voss to pick up the final stack of physical paper and adjust his collar. Down on the assembly floor, Kalen Voss held a ceramic cylinder. With a metallic utensil, he stirred the dark liquid. Clink, clink. Exactly twice against the rim, he tapped the spoon, dislodging a drop of pale foam. Above him, 300 primordial magistrates descended from their levitating tiers, their ceremonial robes humming with the weight of absolute digital authority. A slow, deliberate sip the human took. Sol Prime's tenure within the Quad-Heart Spire concludes. Upward through the crystalline floor grates vibrated Archon Thul's voice, shaking dust from the high archival shelves. Your access codes expire in 4 microcycles. Into the direct center of the petitioner's floor stepped Alara Vane. That single, ink-stained piece of physical paper, she withdrew from her uniform. Upon the rough, fibrous surface rested 3 analog signatures, the biological stamps of the Oculons, the Shardkin, and the Resonant. High in the tiers, Lorien's ocular ridges flared. The meticulous alignment of those rectangles. That toxic liquid they had consumed not for punishment, but for fuel. The humans had built a telescope out of their glass cage. Physical ink, the digital scanners could not overwrite. Under the founding edict, Article 7, stated Alara, her voice bone-dry. Any minor species securing the physical endorsement of 3 founding pillars invokes the entitlement clause. Sol Prime claims a permanent security seat. Never before had the entitlement clause been invoked. Before Thul could formulate a legal dismissal, to a violent, strobing crimson snapped the spire's atmospheric lighting. A Priority Zero telemetry override locked every holographic console. Deep space arrays displayed a massive stellar fragment, previously cloaked by ionized dust, accelerating on a direct collision course with the primordial homeworld. A 2.3% probability of extinction. Into immediate, fluid chaos dissolved the Grand Assembly. Under the threat of physical annihilation, millennia of perfect bureaucratic order shattered. Beneath his heavy, ceremonial robes, Archon Thul's tertiary breathing gill fluttered wildly against his neck, a biological manifestation of ancient, untethered panic. Onto the petitioner's podium placed Kalen Voss, his ceramic cylinder. It's a logistics rerouting issue, the human stated. An apocalyptic event he treated as a standard project deadline. A fleet of 90 Sol Prime mass displacement vessels we have prepositioned near your homeworld's outer orbit, Kalen continued, speaking over the wailing sirens. Onto the fragment's gravitational tail we lock our tether arrays, execute a synchronized multi-vector engine burn, and drag the rock exactly 3 degrees off the collision path. Neighborly assistance. Back into the vast hall crashed utter silence. Empires, the primordials built on the analysis of endless data. Survival, humanity forged on obsessive, grueling physical labor. The salvation of an entire quadrant they had prepared while the council debated office space. This massive administrative burden, Sol Prime simply assumed. In his primary stomach, Lorian felt a profound, freezing dread settle. 6 standard months later, the petitioner's floor lay empty. Across the pristine digital lattice ran heavy, braided analog cables, snaking relentlessly toward the newly expanded administrative wing. Where the reinforced glass walls of the silence booth had once stood, only a chaotic pile of shattered transparent composite remained. Resting perfectly level on the highest slab of broken glass sat 2 ceramic cylinders. Inside, the dark liquid still steamed.